because I get up at 5 something in the morning during the week.
And we know you can't afford the good drugs on a teacher's salary. So
No, you can't.
How are you awake?
Lots of Starbucks. Caffeine is my religion. So I go to Starbucks. My kids know to bribe me with Starbucks gift cards. Yeah, sure. It's the smart kids know what my Starbucks order is, and that's how it works.
And I think that's awesome. It's come a long way since giving a teacher an apple, right?
Yeah, I don't want your apple. I want a tall, non-fat latte, extra hot light foam. That's
Now, broadcasting live from the Podcast Palace on Park Street in beautiful and dangerous Clearwater, Florida. It's the Comedians Uncorked podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Tony Gaud and Pat Largo.
Hey everybody, welcome to Comedians Uncorked podcast. Another great guest today. Of course, our main star. We always have to thank our in-studio sponsor. Thank you, Julie Drolshagen, for everything. We really, really appreciate it. She's out of Clearwater, Florida, Century 21. Still a great time to buy and sell property. You can get a hold of her at 727-902-9233 or floridabeachbusiness.com. This is when Tony normally says floridabeachbusiness.com. So again, Julie Drolshagen, thank you so much. Today, another one in a long line of great guests, and my first time getting to speak with her like this. She's been seen on major TV networks. She's an alumni of the prestigious Chicago's Second City. She's a comedian, actress, and I think most importantly, a teacher. Trish Keating, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. Great, doing good. How are you doing?
Good, hanging in, man. I know. How's life been with you? I always tell you, everyone else, I don't want to say normal yet, but how's stuff been going on with you since things have been kind of getting back again to where they should be?
You mean with the COVID and teaching and whatnot?
Yeah, entertainment, your gigs, all that stuff.
All of it. I think for everybody, it's been a slow progression. I think clubs came back a lot sooner than teaching, as far as feeling safe. And I know that a lot of the students were still wearing masks, and I was going into clubs where no one was wearing masks. So it was kind of like a lot, very different worlds happening simultaneously. And during the school year, I wasn't taking as many gigs because I was worried not only about bringing it to other comedians because of the environment I taught in, but also my parents who are seniors and have health compromising issues. Yeah. So it was like the last thing I wanted to do was get anyone sick or get sick and bring it to anyone else. So I kind of took it easy when clubs started reopening because of that. And I remember seeing a lot of people getting COVID that were doing New Year's Eve shows. And I was like, no.
I mean, unless you're getting paid a lot, it's almost like that risk reward. I'll take a near-death experience if I'm getting compensated.
Right?
I mean, but it's got to be some dough.
And it looks like it's on an upswing again. So I think it's inevitable, and all we can do is be as safe as we can, and
that's it.
Just try to do what you do. And
exactly.
There's nothing, I don't know if the schools are going to do anything this year different, but I know they're all starting to say again, get boosters again, and mask up in public places. But I know a lot of people are over that. And so I'm not going to tell anyone else what to do. You just got to make your own choice.
Exactly. No, you're exactly right. Exactly right. And the main thing, mask or not, I don't care if people wear masks. Have a great time, but come out to see the show. Because, man, I got to tell you, some of these shows I've been a part of recently, all over Florida and Georgia, not only is it great to see people out again, but boy, they are clamoring for comedy.
Everyone wants to get out. I mean, I think even with the gas prices, everyone wants to get out. Yes. They don't care. It's not enough of a deterrent. I know I went to Georgia to hang out with my brother's family briefly for July 4th weekend, and we drove up and I flew back, and plenty of people out there, just aching to get out and do something. And I get it, because we have all got cabin fever. So,
no, big time.
And you see that in the clubs. The crowds are there.
Yeah. No,
which is great. Mm-hmm. It's great for everybody.
Exactly. Let me back up to the teaching now, because it's such an incredible thing you do. Everything you do is very incredible and talented, but teaching is a whole special art. Yeah, it's a whole special art form. how long have you been a teacher? And let folks know what grade and what do you teach?
I feel like I've been teaching for like 1,000 years. I started teaching almost when I started doing comedy. So that was like, I did do comedy in Chicago, but it was primarily focused on stand up and doing theater and film. So I really, I only dabbled. I was doing improv a lot. And so I did a little stand up in Chicago, but not a lot. I was there when a lot of clubs were closing. Because of the 80s boom had killed a lot of clubs in the 2000s, and they just weren't making a big comeback yet. So I was focusing on other stuff. And when I came back to Orlando and then the Tampa area, the Tampa Improv opened. And then I started getting back into it because I started working there in the box office. And then I got into teaching theater, and I was always working with kids. And I always kind of knew I wanted to teach theater, but it was just kind of something that was there. And I figured I would just do it one day. There's a lot of teachers in my family. So, but I am a theater teacher in high school. I started out at one school where I was an army of one, and now I work at a performing arts magnet. And so these kids are a little bit more serious. They're auditioning for, programs, getting in places like Carnegie Mellon and full scholarships to all kinds of schools. And so it's really cool. Much more competitive environment. We do a lot more shows than a typical high school. We do 3 or 4 major shows in the season, and then they have cabarets and dances, and they travel a lot. We go to New York for Broadway. We go to SETC auditions, which are always in a different state. They do competitions. It's just go kind of a job. So, I mean, that's why, people will see me on the road doing stand-up, and I'll see some of my friends and they're like, how are you awake right now? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know I'm awake because I get up at 5 something in the morning during the week.
And we know you can't afford the good drugs on a teacher's salary. So
No, you can't.
How are you awake? That's amazing.
Lots of Starbucks. Caffeine is my religion. So I go to Starbucks. My kids know to bribe me with Starbucks gift cards. Yeah,
Sure.
The smart kids know what my Starbucks order is, and that's how it works.
And I think that's awesome. It's come a long way since giving a teacher an apple, right?
Yeah, I don't want your apple. I want a tall, non-fat latte, extra hot light foam. That's
yeah. Now we need an apple like a tech stuff. That's what you need. That's what teachers need now, not the apple. We just need computer stuff, and you guys have to buy your own supplies anyway. For God's sake, it's crazy out there, man.
We do. A lot of it.
It's really
a lot of it. Yeah.
I never knew how much. This is great. I love this because I never knew how much or what. What you put into teaching until you said it right now. So it's just, I applaud the effort because it's so, your teachers are special people to be able to do stuff like this. Now,
I'm lucky I get to teach what I love.
Right.
There's some teachers that don't get that luxury, that get put into other positions. Right now you've got teachers that, are leaving in droves because they're tired of not being able to pay their bills and working so many hours. And theater teachers, any elective type teacher, like a band teacher and a theater teacher, even football coaches, they work so many hours off the clock that it's a lot. A typical day for us is from, class starts at 7:10 in the morning, and we're there till 4 or 5 o'clock with rehearsals, but we still get a salary. And so we're done getting paid at like 2:30.
Jeez.
But we're still there. And then sometimes there's night events.
Right.
We're not getting paid for those. So we have performances, open houses, discovery nights, you name it. There's always something going on in the evening. And each show we do has 3 performances and a tech week. And that's the same at every high school, not just a magnet program. So, and you've got band concerts and everything else that's all off the clock. And people don't think that. And they're like, you have summers off. And you're like, we don't get paid during the summer, which is why a lot of us take training during the summer so we can get some kind of stipend, or we all have different, other jobs. So,
well, yeah, thank God for, like you said, for comedy, acting, side jobs, anything you can do, for God's sake. That
you have to love what you teach and love the kids to put up with all the BS, but a lot of people are getting tired of the BS. So,
Gosh, dang. Now,
yeah.
of the three, because right there, obviously you have to have a passion to, like you said, to put so much time and, free time. I hate to say it, but like you said, a lot of unpaid time.
Mhm.
Of the stand-up comedy, I'll even throw improv comedy in there, acting, or your teaching. Is there an absolute, like, are there some comparisons in all three? And do you have like an absolute favorite of the three?
That's hard.
That's why I asked it.
I don't know that I have a favorite. Probably, I love doing a show, like a theater show. I've done theater here in the area and done plays and stuff. But every creative thing is so different, and it pulls from a different part of my creative process. I think that's kind of what keeps me going, is that I'm not just all the apples are in one basket. And I encourage, comedians and everybody else, don't just do this one thing, do all these other things. I took a great workshop with Michael Kushner, who does a lot of headshots and things for people on Broadway, and he's also a performer. And he's all about being a multi-hyphenate and being with this more than one thing. Be an actor, a photographer, a web designer, a teacher, a creator, something, so that you always have all these multiple outlets for yourself. And I think if people found a lot during the lockdown that was necessary to not only, save your sanity, but create an income. And for me, I've always just kind of found other different ways to be creative. I also like writing. I like, whatever it is that keeps me going. And I'm very fortunate that I've been able to do that. I don't have children of my own. So, I don't have that other thing that takes up a lot of people's time, that other obligation.
Now, if someone were to ask you, if I were to ask you, if I didn't know you were on the street or somewhere, and I said, we just bumped into each other at a store and we were talking, and I said, "Oh, cool. Nice to meet you, Trish. So what do you do? Would you say teacher first? Would you say entertainer? Would you say, theater person, comedy? What would be the first word out of your mouth?"
I would usually probably say teacher, because if you say you're a comedian, the first thing they say is,
tell me a joke.
Say something funny.
Right.
Yeah. Or tell me a joke.
Right.
Which is a horror.
Right.
And so
it really is.
And if I say comedian and they say something funny, then I say money up front. Because I'm like, no.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Oh.
But yeah, so it kind of depends on the company and where I'm at. I am more of an introvert than a lot of other people are. I'm kind of an introvert with extrovert tendencies. So there's times I really just don't want to engage in shenanigans. I'm just not in the mood.
I'm with you.
I'm not the one that hangs out late with the comedians at the bar sometimes. And it's not because I don't want to talk to them. It's just because I've done all my extrovert stuff I can do for the day. And, you teach all day and then you have a show at night, and then I'm just kind of depleted. And I'm just kind of like, it's great seeing you guys. I gotta go. I gotta go.
I'm with you.
I gotta drive for 2 hours now. I gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sometimes feel that way on stage. I'm just telling Joe, I'm like, oh God, you jackasses. I didn't want to be here joking for you. I just want to get paid and go home.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But I gotta tell you, I'm 52 now. In like late 40s, especially, I started to be more that way, where I'm like, I just want to do what I gotta do and then go home. And and I was single at the time, and I only have a dog here at the house. I love my dog, but I just wanted to go home. I didn't know I was such a homebody. But I just don't want, no hanging out, no 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning stuff. I just want to go home.
No, I found that out about myself in Chicago. I did the late nights and all that stuff with the friends, and I just kind of got it out of my system.
Right.
It's like, I'm done. Well, that's good.
Any crazy Chicago stories after the shows? Drugs, orgies? Tell us, Trish Keating.
Drugs or no, not really.
Tell us something hot.
I had hot. Like bangs are doing this thing. Something hot.
God, it must have.
Most of the time when I was there, it was the post-drug period where everybody had seen the dangers of drugs and what it had done to the great amount of talent.
Okay.
And when I was there, Chris Farley passed away.
Yeah, 97, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he had been at a Christmas party, and He had been at a Christmas party at SNL the night before and was definitely having fun.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people were very concerned about him and worried about him.
Yeah.
But I remember the following time I had a class with my director. He gave us a big lecture on the dangers of drugs and how many talented people they had seen deal with this. And, you know, everybody was in mourning, of course, because he was so well liked and loved. But a lot of it was that. And I had Del Close as an instructor at the Improv Olympic. And I remember at one point he had rolled up his sleeves. And if you don't know who Del Close is, he's one of the fathers of improv in Chicago. And quite a character, a big, you know, hippie rebel type, but a genius nonetheless. And I'm privileged that I got to have class with him. But at one point he rolled up his sleeves and you could see clearly the track marks on his arms. He didn't hide it.
Right.
And, you know, he, you know, was in recovery and everything, of course, but it was something that was not hidden, like the dangers of it and the people that had to deal with it. And funny story about Del, you like funny stories. So when he passed away, he willed his skull to the Goodman Theater to be used in any productions of Hamlet.
Nice.
Because they have that famous scene, Rorik, I knew him well, and he holds up his skull. They used it. It's on display, and it's there. And I'm like, yeah, that's my teacher. Yes.
That is so cool.
Isn't that great? So, good times. So, I mean, you just, you know, most of the stories I have are good. When I was there, the people on the main stage were amazing. They were like Rachel Dratch, Tina Fey, Horatio Sands. Stephanie Weir was killing it over at the Improv Olympic, and she went on to do, I think she did Mad TV, but they were just, the thing about them is that I was never intimidated by them. They were kind, approachable, nice people, and you wanted them all to do well. Yeah. When they got the call to go to Saturday Night Live or whatever, you were happy for them. There was no one going, ugh, I hope they suck. I hope they fail. Nobody does that, because a lot of them had been there already years before me. Right. And a lot of them had already done the road, the troupe on the road. So very happy for them. Very nice people. I follow them on Twitter and give them shouts outs and stuff on Instagram, and they're just great.
And that's great to hear that talent like that and people like that who are still popular and working nowadays.
Yes.
Were cool and are cool, or hopefully still nice, because it's
Chicago has kind of that thing. A lot of those Midwest folk are
right. True.
Are pretty cool, down to earth. I was very welcomed into the theater scene and the art scene in Chicago. It was very approachable, more than I would say if I went to New York, which is why I made that choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anything intimidating about? I know you did the people you just mentioned, but I mean they were young as well too then, and not as popular. But anything intimidating getting in there and being around these other comedic geniuses though? Like were you totally just like smooth right on in there? Or?
I was nervous, of course. But it's just kind of you just have to, it's just like stand up. You have to keep doing it.
Sure. You
have to keep doing it. You have to keep doing it. And the Improv Olympic actually gives you the most chance to grow, because they're near Wrigley Field.
Nice. Yeah.
Wrigleyville. And they turn out people like, you know, they turned out like Andy Dick and people like that, I think. Mike Myers, I feel like that went there.
Wow.
Probably getting names wrong because I'm a nightmare. But a lot of people did go there and do well. And Sharna Halpern started that, but we would get on a team right away and have a coach. And every week we performed in front of a live audience.
Oh, wow.
So at Second City, you took classes, and then at the end of your classes, when you took so many classes, then you had a show on stage. But the Improv Olympic puts you on stage immediately. Like, here you go, because you learn by doing. And so I was doing that simultaneously. And so it was, and I did that on purpose to myself, because I was like, I'm going to get this. I'm gonna get good at this. Because they didn't really have improv where I was from necessarily. So it was good for me. I'd learned very well that way. But I wasn't the best and the brightest. I was good. I came up with characters and held my own. I wrote well. They put me in the writing program, and I started writing sketches.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's where, so that's
So
where
they
the
kind of
money
tapped
is.
me on the shoulder for that. Yeah.
Okay, that's where money is, right? Like in TV shows,
Yeah.
like, when you're a writer, man, that's what they make it happen.
Yes.
So
Well, I knew Paula Pell, who went on to write for Saturday Night Live for many years, was a head writer
Oh, really?
for a while. Yeah.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Man, now let's play the name drop game. I know you said some of the folks that you went to Second City and other improv stuff with, Chicago and SNL people. How about doing stand-up comedy with? I thought I saw, did I see Wanda Sykes or no?
Wanda was amazing. I got to work with a lot of folks at the Improv because I got to host shows there a lot, like Tony did when he started. And Tony and I kind of did some of the same stuff for a while there, but Wanda was amazing to work with. And I learned a lot from her. And primarily, I kind of learned a lot from the women I worked with.
Sure.
More, of course, than the guys, because you want to see, you know, how they hold their own on stage. But D.L. Hughley is someone else that I saw and I got to open for. And he was very nice. I mean, everybody was pretty nice. The only person that I didn't care for, and this is no secret because a lot of people don't, was Holly Shore.
Oh, man. The Weasel.
The Weasel. Yeah.
Holly Shore.
Holly Shore. It's the only one. Most people, I don't have any real bad stuff to say, but
a slight coating of disdain for Mr. Shore.
He smelled bad. You could smell him from 10 feet away. And he he didn't have much of a show. Like he came out and he said some jokes for about 10 minutes, and then he showed a slideshow of his friends and him making a movie.
Okay.
It was his show back then. So,
right.
I just wasn't. And then I guess he had a bus. I remember he had a tour bus, and his buddies that he was on tour, that he toured with, his friends, would select chicks to go wait for him in the bus.
Of course.
Yeah. So I was just kind of like, okay.
See?
And I just kind of wanted to go, you had a few good years in the 80s. You need to calm down. Just calm down. But I don't know. People still like him. He still does comedy and tours, and I don't know.
His act is the same thing, and the slideshow the same thing, except his friends are older now.
I guess so.
I really don't know. I only met him once when I was doing radio in Tampa many, many years ago, and he popped into the Hillsborough Avenue Hooters, and I happened to be there with some guys after a gig we did, and he popped in. I don't know if this was pre-improv, so he must have been either just rolling through town or maybe at Side Splitters. I don't know where he had a gig at. But yeah, he was just eating a lot of food for a skinny guy. But yeah, I mean, I know he has a great history with his mom, his late mother, and everything. But I never have seen his act in person. But it's good to know he had a tour bus at one point in Groupie. So see, everyone gets a show. Well,
apparently he didn't have soap. I don't care if you do pot or whatever. Just take a bath. Be clean. Be clean. Be clean.
That's all.
One fun story was, who's the guy, the comic with all the puppets? Jeff
Dunham.
Jeff
Dunham. Yeah.
Jeff Dunham. And he had, he sends the puppets ahead of time in these metal boxes.
Yes.
Through shipping to make sure they get there in time for his show. And so I was in the box office doing whatever at the time. And they, unbeknownst to me, he was around the corner hiding. And he started having them argue in the shipping containers, the puppets. And he was full on doing all the voices. And he'd gotten my name already. So they were talking about me. And it was like the jalapeno guy and the old man arguing about me and my appearance. Let's put it that way.
Oh, that's funny.
PG-13, but my parents and who was going to take me out and stuff like that. And it was so funny. But it really startled me for a minute until I caught on that obviously he's behind the corner. And I was just like, oh my God, I cannot. And we got along like peas and carrots after that. It was so funny, but he was very nice. He didn't really have an opener. He just, kind of goes on stage, but he was so funny.
That's
very
awesome.
nice. So that's a fun little story.
I've heard him do things like that. That's awesome that he did it to you. How cool is he? Yeah, Jose Jalapeno on a stick.
Jose Jalapeno on a stick, which was my favorite at the time, by the way. I love him.
That's fun stuff, man.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's good times.
No doubt. And it's just great stories. And it's not going to end anytime soon, but it's just great. It's just a great life. Let me ask you a question that Tony texted me for me to ask you. He said, can you please ask Trish about the difference/similarities between today's student actors and veteran actors? Are the same things important between them?
The difference is that today's actors can't memorize anything. They have their memorization skills are very, very tough because they're used to their attention span is much shorter.
Yeah.
And they're used to having instant information and tiny bits of information at a time, like texting and social media. So that when you give them a script, the expectation that they will have something memorized for you, you have to really, I found it at my old school, I had to give them extra time to have things memorized, or I had to simplify some of the text that I was giving out as time wore on, or relax some of the requirements for memorization. Now that I'm at a performing arts magnet, we kind of have to instill that discipline because that's what they're going to need in the real world if they go to a college program, which is essentially what we're preparing most of them for, to meet those standards. So it's a little different. We have to be a little more hard on them knowing that, but it is definitely a skill that I have seen gone the wayside. And so that's a little scary. And they're also so used to devices. Eye contact is something we're always working on, especially with, even when they're doing cold readings, they want to hold it like they hold their phone. Like looking down all the time. I'm like, you have to look up. You have to look up. And that even comes into play when we do tech run throughs for lighting design. The lighting designers are always like, you have to look up. You need to look up, because they want to do this all the time.
Right. Yeah, you're right. No, that's exactly.
It goes into posture, physicality, everything.
Wow.
Because of leaning over devices
for
years on end. Mm-hmm.
I did not think of that. Now,
so it affects everything.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, it's been a while since I've done, some on-camera stuff that required script memorization. I'm lazy now. I'm like, do we have prompter? Anything I do on camera now, if it's like
you're even holding up cards like Saturday Night Live. Can we just hold up cards?
I'll take it. No, I like a good prompter because I can read prompter. Like if I do
but television is a different animal than you do things in increments, not on stage in front of a live audience.
Oh, no, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I was never big. I've done it before, or last minute they'll come and go, okay, we changed this. Now memorize this. And you go, oh, that's right. I'm supposed to be the professional. I have to learn how to do this. So as I get older, like I said, I'm just getting older, crouchier, and lazier. But what are some?
Well, now my brain is toast because I'm going through menopause. I can't remember anything anymore.
What are some of the things that you either can teach the younger students, or maybe some of the things you did, like when you were younger, was memorizing pretty simple, or did you have to get work on it?
I'm one of those people where it's not hard for me to memorize. Okay. It comes very easily. I could go even into like a commercial audition and look at the piece and have it down and not have to look at anything. And I just don't have a problem. And I do it very well in the car. So when I'm in a play, I just sit there and say the words out loud in my car, and I've got them in time for rehearsal. It's not a problem. The older I get, the harder it has become. I will say that much. But it's it's harder for everyone depending on where they're at with it. But I have noticed a big change in my students of late and having to be able to do that. So we do different exercises. We do something where their peers will give them a grade on memorization technique as like an assignment. So they'll say each other's monologues to each other, and then they'll rate them on a scale of how many words they got right or wrong. As practice. And we also do dry runs of everything before they get a performance run. So that's another way. I have them, a good technique is to write down your monologue 3 times, because sometimes just writing it down a few times gets in here. I also have them write them line by line as a sentence and number the sentence. And then under each line, give each sentence, break them down into like actions. So they have an intention for each of those thoughts. And that way, a lot of times they memorize them that way too. So there's different things you can do. Sometimes you can record them. And so if people have a musical inclination, if they hear themselves say the words, it helps them memorize.
Okay. Wow.
So it varies. Yeah.
That's different things. That's neat. Yeah. No, that's really cool. You strike me as one of those folks that probably know everyone's lines on the page, right? Like, you know, everyone's.
Eventually I will, unless it's a play I've directed before. Yeah.
Right. Oh my, that's great. That's good to know. Now let's do some more name dropping, because we know you've done some big time acting here. Were you or were you not on the set of Ocean's 11?
I was. I had to work all day with Brad Pitt. It was horrible.
My God. How, whatever is he in person? Is he too gorgeous, or did you think he's not as gorgeous? He's so beautiful.
Like, you can't take your eyes off of him, whether you like him or not, whether he's your type or not. And he's not really my type. I tend to like the Clooney, right? The tall, dark, and I couldn't stop looking at him. He's like a magnet. Okay. I will say, I was in the scene where they're at, and you know, I had some lines, most of which got cut out, but I wound up being a glorified extra, which is fine because you go for the experience and it's fun. But I was still in a Steven Soderbergh film, so I was happy. But I was in front of them in the racetrack scene. So they had to keep resetting it, and they gave us hot dogs and like crap all day to eat to keep us interested. But he was sitting with his co-stars, and when he wasn't doing that, he was talking to a lot of older people that were on set that looked like retirees and stuff. And he was so kind to them. He was so nice and genuinely interested in them. Like, so, oh, you're from New York and now you're in Florida. That's great. Well, what brought you down here? Like, he couldn't have been nicer. Wow. And I was just very impressed with him. Okay. Yeah. And they did their scene, you know, over and over different ways, and reset it. And he was very professional, and they would goof around and stuff. And every once in a while he would say something to me or whoever, you know, next to me. And I would tease him because I would just, you know, this is the same thing I did on sets before in Chicago. And I would just turn around and go, oh God, we have to do this again. Can you get it right? And he would laugh and just be, I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah. And we would tease, because that was his relationship with everybody else, was just very good natured. And so you feel open to do that, you know. And it was the same on the set of like ER. When I did that, ER was everyone's very open. You didn't feel like, you know, a lot of people are saying about Leah Michele right now on the set of Glee, she was you couldn't talk to her. She was precious. You didn't get that on, you know, those kind of sets. People were very open to talking to everybody. They weren't treating anyone any different, you know, like their crap didn't stink. So
now, who did you make love to first, Brad Pitt or George Clooney?
It would have been Clooney.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The ER Clooney or the Ocean's 11 Clooney?
I would have taken either or. And you'll love this. I did 2 episodes of ER and then Ocean's 11. And all those times, Clooney was never on set.
Oh, really?
Yes, really.
Dang it.
It's very upsetting. And I actually wound up in Vegas, and they were still shooting Ocean's 11 at this time they were at the Bellagio. And I was on vacation. I was with my mom. But I remembered the set PA. And I went up to the PA and I was like, hey, is my husband here? Because that's what I called Clooney before. Right. And when I had talked to her for a while, and she looked at me like I was insane. And I was just like, oh my God, she's going to call security.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm probably on a list now, like where there's this girl that's hunting down Clooney. I was just like, I'll just go. And I was just like, never mind. It's fine. I did not fly out here. It's for this. It's okay.
It's a new list. It's called the Clooney Looney list.
Yes, absolutely. Right. But I was so bummed out. The first thing that happened when I got on set to ER, they give you the sheet for the day, and it shows all the players that are there for the day, and there's no Clooney. And I was just like, oh, and then you could only do the show once or twice, and that's it. And you could do it again because they wanted to spread the work, right, for all the actors in town. I was so sad. I was like, can I go home? Because I don't want to do this episode.
Oh my God.
And anything they were shooting in Chicago when I was there, I ddid. I did little things in Orlando, but and now my schedule is such that it's almost impossible for me to do anything.
Right.
And it's all done in Georgia too. So I'd have to go to Georgia for everything. Thanks to Sanus. But don't get me started. I mean, I've done some home shopping stuff here, but nothing major because they just want extra work unless you go to Miami or Georgia. So.
Right. I know. I wish we could get some stuff back when I was in the late 80s, early 90s when Florida was in place and Florida, they got money to bring people here,
we used to have a lot of work here.
Yeah. You're exactly right. And, even a young, untalented Pat Largo kid back in the day got some work, believe it or not. It was pretty cool, man.
There you go.
But, you're just another testament to show the kind of talent that we have here in the Tampa Bay area. But you're not just, entertainment and comedic and acting talent. Like I said, your teaching is also another major thing that, we can't appreciate enough. So we thank you for doing that and making these kids and young adults into productive adults, man. So we really appreciate that. What does the future hold for Trish Keating? What do you think?
Oh, well, I'm working on a solo show. I've been writing. Maybe try to get into a Fringe festival with that would be nice.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's a process, because something like that, you've got to, it's kind of like playwriting, but at the same time, you want to make it active. So I've been going to the Orlando Fringe Fest for years, and I know Tampa has a Fringe festival as well. And I believe it might be this weekend, but of course I'm going out of town. But it's something that's always interested in me, and I've always wanted to do something with that medium. But I think that would be something I'd like to do, and to keep writing some new material. I am dating a Republican and I'm a Democrat, so that's given me a wealth of new material. It's really fun. We don't take it very seriously, so that's what makes it funny. Both of us joke about it. But so I'm always mining material from him. He sent me something yesterday about what was it? The first lady said about, the Mexican tacos or something. She was making a speech, and he said, is this how I'm supposed to refer to all Mexicans or something? And I said, yeah, just like the rest of, your demographic. That's perfect for you, honey.
Yeah,
and
Mexican tacos.
We just don't take any of it seriously. I said, yeah, I'll put that on a shirt for you. But we just make jokes about it all the time. I got a bumper sticker to put on his car that says liberal snowflake. And he's just going to drive around for days without knowing it's there. And we just don't take it very seriously, but it's a lot of good jokes, we play hide and seek, and he hides and I seek his voter's ID. Little things like that. So, but he's also not romantic at all. Like I asked him to plan a nice romantic evening and So he did. He said, honey, I picked out a movie for us. I said, oh, that's great. What did you get? And he got Dirty Grandpa.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not making that up.
Okay. It's even
That was his romantic movie.
that still deserves a laugh.
It's frightening.
It's not romantic. You're right.
No, it's not. It's a nightmare.
That's what you get for trying to find his voter ID card.
I know. Well, I still can't find it. He's hit it very well.
That's right. It is one.
It's very good. But then I tease him. It's okay, honey. You'll forget to vote anyway.
That's right. That's right. They're all stolen anyway. Oh God, I can't say that.
Yeah. And he'll ask, he's always asking me what I'm doing if he doesn't hear me in the house somewhere, and I'll be like, oh, nothing. I'm just blocking Fox News.
Just no, yeah.
So busy.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a great relationship.
Yes, it is.
I have a quick
It's on
question.
trust. Yeah.
I got a quick question here from Eric on our YouTube channel. Eric in Tampa. He said, "What is Trish's? Does she have a favorite comedian or like comedic actor or anything like that growing up, or like even to this day, like someone just comedy wise that you were like?" Probably
my biggest influence as far as comedians would be old school, like Joan Rivers, Bette Midler,
Right.
that style. I love those early like setup punch. I got to meet Joan Rivers, and she was really cool. She gave me
Wow.
advice. She said comedy is very tough on women. She wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
It's hard to be a headliner, to try to be a headliner. I still fight to be a headliner a lot. I've had shows where people are like, I've featured and someone else has headlined, and I've had people say you should have headlined, and I'm like, okay, well, tell the booker, because I can't do anything about it. It's frustrating, and I've tried to get other clubs to headline me, and they'll tell me that they will, and nothing happens, and I just keep getting asked to feature, and I'm not arrogant enough to say I'm the best and I'm the greatest and I should never feature again, and it's money. So I do it, and then I try to work on material featuring, but it is frustrating when you know that they just keep putting men primarily in those things, and they want a well-rounded show, so they like to put a women in the middle. And I know it's not personal, but after a while you start to feel like, come on, really?
Yeah.
But I'm not a TikTok star, right? So I'm not, and I'm not currently on television. So I get that. So it's just kind of tough. I'm trying to work more on TikTok videos, but my brain doesn't go there. I know my friend Mike Rivera has been doing really well, making lots of videos lately. And I'm just like, how did you do all this? There's no time in my day,
Yeah.
for all of that. But I get it. But it's I definitely loved Joan. I read her book Enter Talking when I was young, and I immediately said, this is I should do this. I should do comedy. This sounds like it's right for me. I like comedy versus other mediums because you're in control of it, and I think being a Leo, we like that control. So you're the one in charge of the material, your look, where you're going to go, when you're going to go. There's a lot of control to it. The thing you can't always control is, getting the booking, right? You can't always control that, but you can control a lot of it. And when you get into the business, even if it's just theater, you can't control whether you're going to get the part. You can't control whether you're going to keep working. You can't control where you're going to live necessarily.
Right.
And there's a lot of that that gets hard, and you have to be a certain type or a certain look. And with comedy, you don't have that aspect to it. You can be who you are. And I think that that's a really big plus for anyone that wants that outlet. But it takes a lot of bravery to do comedy, and that takes time. It takes a lot of time to be brave, to be yourself on stage.
Yeah, very well said, Joan Rivers. And it's great again to hear. She was very cool to you and very nice. That's always great.
She was very kind. Yes, yeah.
I heard great stories. What? Now you said a Leo. So do you have a birthday coming up in August?
It's July 31st.
Oh,
if it's August, you screwed up. That's what I always tell people.
Gotcha. Right.
Yeah, it's July 31st. I'll be 30 again.
I'm going to write that down. July 31, 30 on the 31st. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Write that down. Very good. Cool, man. This is awesome. We could talk for a long time, and next time hopefully we'll have Tony available here as well. I know he would love to see. He would have been here today, but I mean, and we'll definitely do some stuff. I'd love to get you out to a Comedians on Court gig.
Sure, absolutely.
Of course, I'm gonna have to have you as a feature, but yeah, only because you're a Democrat. No, I'm just kidding. You can headline. I don't care what your
whatever you need is fine.
Good Lord, man. I mean, I don't pay anything, but you can headline.
Right.
Real quick, how can people get a hold of you if they want their kids? Like, if you do any side hustle with teaching, or how can they get a hold of you?
I don't have a lot of videos on YouTube because of my day job. There's a lot of people starting to come after teachers for their social media right now, believe it or not. Really? So I don't post a lot of stand-up per se. Right. But I do have a website, trishkeatingcomedy.com, and I'm on Trish Keating Diva on Instagram, and I'm Trish Keating on Facebook. So I'm on Twitter, but I don't tweet that much. But I am Trish Keating on Twitter as well.
I love it. And let's do that TikTok, because that fan told me.
I will work on Trish Keating Diva on TikTok. I will work on it.
In closing, I'm with you though. There's one more thing to make me tired. That fan's like, get a thing today, get a profile today. I'll follow you. All right, that's great.
I have a profile. I just only have a few videos on it. But
right, yeah. Me too. I just literally started, because you know what's so disheartening is that when you're going through, and I'm just going through. My girlfriend had it for like 2 weeks. She got rid of hers. And I see a woman who's about 23 with an ass out to here, and she's twerking for 10 seconds, and then I go like this to the right, and she has 3.5 million followers, and I go, what am I going to do? Put dick jokes on there and try to outdo her? Well,
and then some of them put out really like good quality professional things, and I'm like, how do they do all that? I get intimidated. My students, can do it. Mike has his students helping him. And I'm like, I have to wait till school starts for that. And then I can go, here, do this.
It's a great idea, man. You're helping.
So in a few weeks, I'll get more TikTok videos. I promise.
Yes. Good. No, because he's got a great idea. And we're talking about, people are listening, Mike Rivera, who's America's Funniest Teacher. And he's in the Pinellas County, Florida area. He tours all over the place, but he's also a teacher.
We're both teachers, yeah.
And like you said, Trish, you're telling students how to look up and do stuff and have good posture and stop having this because they're so used to this. So you trade it out. You're teaching them how to be better actors and more attentive in life with eye contact. And you can say, hey, can you show me real quick how to do a 20-second proper video on TikTok? They'll do it for you.
Oh, yes,
That's
absolutely.
Awesome. So good. I can't wait to see some TikToks from Trish Keating.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
I like this. This is good. And one more time, TrishKeatingComedy.com, everybody. And that's Keating. Awesome, man. I hope you can do more stuff. I know you need some rest because school season is right around the corner again already.
Yes.
And I just want to say thank you for being a guest. We really, really appreciate it. Anytime you have something else new,
appreciate it.
You bet. Our pleasure.
Thanks so much, Pat.
Whether it's your writing or movies or anything, you let us know. But I want to say thank you so much for being on the show. And let me just also say thank you one more time to Julie Drolshagen, our studio sponsor for Century 21, 727-902-9233, FloridaBeachBusiness.com. Once again, thank you so much, Trish Keating. And folks, thank you so much for checking out another episode of the Comedians Uncorked podcast.
You're putting up with the Comedians Uncorked podcast, live from the Sunshine State, Florida.
Don't forget to check out our Comedians Uncorked YouTube channel and just click on that subscribe button. Thanks.